Buen dia. Welcome back to Single Black Man from Des Moines. My name is Al Simon Jr. A little about me: I was a dog handler in the service. I've worked in retail, healthcare, and libraries. I've taught Hapkido for over 20 years. I'm currently single and retired from marriage. Now I'm a fledgling writer. From time to time, I'll read some of my pieces, fiction and nonfiction. Time permitting, I'll tell some jokes that I've heard from the past. I like to keep these around 10 to 15 minutes. I'll post stuff every week, so please like, share, and subscribe. If you like to purchase my works, I have some things at Smashwords, or you can email me at al_simon@hotmail.com, and I'll send you a complete list and prices of all my works. If you order from me, it'll be a little cheaper than going through Smashwords. I only go through PayPal. If you need more flexibility and payment options, then go through Smashwords. Let me tell you a story. This story is called I've Never Seen Her Before. It's about a guy named Gabe Saunders. I've used Gabe maybe about 3 or 4 different stories. As the story goes along, you'll become more familiar with his circumstances. Anyway, this is called I've Never Seen Her Before. Gabe looked at his reflection of the dryer. Before I continue, this has been published by 22/28 this past August. Gabe looked at his reflection in the dryer. Watching the clothes whirl in front of him made him reflect that his world was just as in flux, and that he needed a shave. I need to talk. Gabe was 66 at the time. He had been taking care of Sarah Montgomery, an octogenarian with dementia. He was supposed to be her tenant. Instead, he became her 24-hour-a-day in-home care. He bought the food and cooked the meals. He took her to her appointments. Once he had to take her to be admitted for testing after an appointment. Even then, he spent most of his time with her. As Sarah's dementia increased, to ease out of the situation, he bought a minivan and slowly built it up so he can live in it. It took 6 months for Aaron, Sarah's son, to fully come into the picture. And that was 6 months after Gabe had given notice. Gabe had some appliances that ran on solar. However, when he'd go over to Sarah's, he'd plug into her exterior outlets and charge up whatever batteries he had. Most times he slept in his car in her driveway. She happened to fall when he wasn't there. Sarah had a grandson, Cody, who lived in the apartment underneath her house that sat on an acreage. Gabe never knew what kind of financial arrangement Cody and Sarah had. Sarah didn't have too much to say about him other than calling him that kid. Gabe could count on one hand how many times she saw Cody. Once social services got into the picture, Aaron had to come from Oregon to take care of the situation in Des Moines, which meant Gabe had to find another place to live. Gabe only had Social Security and a small disability payment from the VA. All told, it was less than $2,000 a month. He didn't want to go back to work. Yet, as he watched his clothes spin around, his mind began to think what he'd do. What did he want to do? I ain't got no ride. Perked out of his reverie, his eyes went to the young black girl on the payphone near the front of the laundromat. She appeared to be in her early 20s. It looked like twine to him, but her hair had multicolored weave that cascaded down her back. Pink eyeshadow, a faux diamond stud in her right nostril, and a pink lipstick that matched the eyeshadow. He hadn't noticed her when she came in. However, once his clothes were in the dryer, he could pick up bits of her conversation getting increasingly louder. Okay. I'm going to get there. There was a loud slam of the receiver being hung up. He had put her out of his mind until a moment later she was standing near him. What's your name? He looked at her. Huh? She was rifling through her purse. What's your name? Gabe. He felt stirrings of being perturbed. He didn't like her assertive tone. Last name? Not a question, but a command. Saunders. What's your address? Now that was the last straw. Why are you asking me all these questions? Because I need to know before I let you take me somewhere. How are you going to let me do something I didn't ask to do? I need to go somewhere and you got to take me. I do? Why don't you call a cab? I ain't got no money. And this is my problem, how? Her fist went to her hips and in an indignant tone said, You got to help me. Gabe sighed. He looked at his clothes. The timer had another 30 minutes. Where you got to go? The east side. When you ask people you don't know for something, I was taught to say please. She snorted, You ain't my dad. You ain't getting the ride then. Her eyes blazed at him. Her body became taut. She appeared to argue some more. Please, she said in her indignant tone. Come on, he said, this better not take long. As she headed for the door, Gabe thought to himself, I remember the days when kids could get spanked by strangers. Once she got into the minivan, she buckled her seatbelt. She surveyed the inside of the vehicle. Why you got a bed in here? Are you homeless or something? Gabe debated on how to answer her. Inside, he was churning with mixed emotions. He didn't like her. Yet he felt that if he ever had to ask someone for help, he hoped that they were obliged. As he was backing up, he merely said, Where on the east side are we going? Do you know where McCormick is? Yep. McCormick was off University near Williams Stadium. He was born and raised in Des Moines, and he knew the city fairly well. What's your name? She didn't answer right away. He turned to look at her. You asked me for everything except for my sperm count, and you don't want to tell me your name? Crickets. Okay, he said, and steered his minivan to the curb. Two can play this game. Your ass can get out and walk. Renata, she blurted out. Fine. Why are you so goddamn hostile? I'm doing you a favor. I don't expect any attitude. She glanced at him and then quickly looked out her passenger window. Because you men ain't shit. Gabe gave her a side eye as he drove. This is going to be a long 15 minutes. That may have more to do with the choice of men you let get between your legs. She shot him some daggers. For a few minutes they drove in silence. Renata began to rifle through her purse and took out a lighter and a pack of Newports. Ordinarily, Gabe wouldn't care. If she had asked to smoke, he would have consented. No smoking. The look of hate in her eyes were palpable. Y'all sure got a lot of rules. I got a car and you don't. Damn, she muttered and put her smokes away. This is why I hate men. Look, Toots, you're bitching to the wrong man. I've been married twice and divorced both of them. I ain't never met a woman who did anything wrong. Must have done something wrong to get divorced twice. My mistake was marrying them when I really didn't want to. She snorted. What you do, get them both pregnant? Without missing a stride, he replied, The first one lied about being on birth control and had me give her money for 2 abortions she didn't have. The second was in her 40s and too late to have kids. Plus, she and her grown daughter had gambling addictions that I didn't find out until much later that sent me into bankruptcy. Now, what's your excuse? Pardon? I mean, you got all this hate towards men, and you act like the world owes you something. Maybe they do. Gabe snorted. Entitled and selfish. They rode in silence for a few minutes. Finally, Renata said, My mom raised 4 of us, 2 boys and 2 girls. The boys got on crack and ain't never done good with their lives. Where was their father? He wasn't in the picture. And your mom had nothing to do with it, right? She turned to him and with a rage in her voice said, You leave my mom out of this. You brought it up, sis. You can't blame your dad when he wasn't there to raise the boys. They men, ain't they? How can you expect two boys to become a man without a man in the house? Crickets. He pulled up to a house on a cul-de-sac on McCormick. As Renata opened the car door to get out, Gabe prodded her with, "Thank you." She gave him a surly look and slid out. Gabe muttered, "That's 15 minutes of my life I'll never get back." He had all the intentions of leaving. He had shifted the car into drive when out of the corner of his eye he saw Renata and another man having a fierce conversation. And then the man had smacked her, knocked her down, and looked like he was about to kick her. God damn it! Gabe was out of the car and headed up the sidewalk. Hey, stop that! The young man was black and wearing oversized hockey jersey, mid-leg cargo shorts, and white Adidas. "Mind your own business, old man," said the youth. Gabe was on the porch and lifted Renata to his feet. To her feet, I should say. He and the youth were less than a stride apart. "Look, dude, I know she's a bitch. But y'all ain't supposed to hit a girl." "She's a fucking whore," the boy spat out. He gripped Gabe's shirt and was poised to hit him. "If you want some of this," before the boy could continue, Gabe had pinned the offending hand to his chest and brought his free arm over the wrist joint, which sent the boy to his knees in pain. "How does that feel?" Ow. Okay. Gabe looked over to Renata. "Grab whatever shit you need and get in the car." Her right eye was beginning to blacken, and she was holding her jaw. She stepped over to the boy and gave him a kick in the groin. "Take that, you black bastard." "Renata," Gabe said in a stern tone. She disappeared into the house and after a few minutes came out with a backpack. She wanted to give the boy another kick, but the look Gabe gave her seemed to subdue her. "All right, son, I'm going to let you go. I'm too old for any bullshit." The boy said nothing as he slowly rose to his feet. Even though he was as tall as Gabe, he took full measure of the man in front of him. "Y'all want that bitch? Go ahead. She ain't nothing but trouble." He turned and yelled at Renata. "You know y'all can't come back here." "As if I give a shit," was her retort. When she was in the minivan, Gabe took several steps backwards before heading to the car. Once inside, Gabe was thinking, "Now what am I going to do with this hussy?" He started up the car and began to drive. At first he thought of just going back to the laundromat. "Who is he to you?" She was looking out the window, her mouth turned down into a hardened expression. Her eyes were becoming glassy. In a sullen voice she said, "Just a dude." What did I say earlier about men she lets between her legs? It was not in his nature to kick someone when they were down. In a soft tone he asked, "You got someplace you can go?" "Not really," was her solemn response. Gabe let out a sigh. "You want to file a police report?" "Nah." She turned to him and asked, "Can I smoke?" "Go ahead." It was another 20 minutes before Gabe pulled up to CISS, the Polk County Homeless Shelter. "You been here before?" She shook her head. "Go inside. They're going to ask you some questions and they'll get you some help. I think you could stay here for at least a few weeks." She had her hand on the door handle and was about to get out when Gabe added, "Renata, lose the attitude. They'll be less likely to help you if you don't." She looked up and met his eyes. A slight smile stretched across her face. "You ain't a bad dude, kind of an OG." As he watched her head into the building, he wondered where he was going to sleep tonight. Then he remembered his clothes and headed back to the laundromat. Okay, that's it for this story. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to purchase my works, I have some things at Smashwords, or email me at al_simon@hotmail.com, and I'll send you a complete list and prices of all my works. Thanks for tuning in. Get Al out of the ghetto. Let me close with this. You load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Thanks for tuning in.